She slapped the ring box out of my hand like it was trash, and everyone laughed. The rooftop lights shimmered above us, casting a perfect spotlight on my humiliation. I could hear camera shutters clicking. Someone even gasped, "Is this part of the show?" But it wasn't. This wasn't a prank or a misunderstanding. It was Mia, standing there in her scarlet dress, towering over me with that cold, polished smile she'd perfected over years of pretending to love me. "Seriously, Ethan?" She scoffed loud enough for the guests to hear. "You thought a helicopter pilot with a second-hand ring could marry me? I'm with Daniel now." She pointed across the rooftop, where he stood smugly in his designer suit, sipping champagne, watching this unfold like he had planned every second. My ears rang. The city lights blurred behind her like a dream I was waking up from too late. "You were a convenience," she added, adjusting her bracelet. "A phase I tolerated until someone real came along." The crowd didn't move. A few looked down, awkwardly. Some recorded it. No one stopped her. I stood there, the ring box on the ground, its velvet interior gaping open like the chest of a man who'd just been stabbed. My fingers itched to pick it up, not because I still wanted to give it to her, but because it reminded me how small I had allowed myself to become. And then Daniel spoke. "Come on, Mia. Let's not waste time here." She turned her back to me, just like that. The heels, the sway, the exit. Perfectly rehearsed. They didn't know what I was flying in the next morning. They didn't know what I had been building in silence. They didn't know that the next time Mia saw me, I wouldn't be the man holding a ring. I'd be the man she was running after, screaming through the wind, begging to be let back into a life she chose to burn, and she'd have to watch me rise, literally. Because the next time I took off, I wouldn't be coming back down for her. I met Mia during my second year as a trainee pilot. She was the kind of girl people noticed without meaning to. Sharp eyes, softer voice, the kind of beauty that didn't need to be loud to make you turn around twice. She walked into my life during a charity gala hosted by the Aviation Academy, where I was volunteering as a ground coordinator. Her heels clicked on the polished marble like she owned the air itself. I remember her looking at me like I didn't quite belong there, which was fair, I didn't. My blazer was borrowed and I had grease stains on my cuffs. She asked me where the restroom was. That's all it took. By the end of the night, we had exchanged numbers. By the end of the week, we were talking every day. And within a month, she had made it a habit to show up at the hangar with coffee, standing on the tarmac in stilettos like she wasn't the least bit out of place. Mia had ambition, the kind that wraps around you slowly until you're not sure if it's love or a noose. She liked beautiful things, soft lighting, designer wine, exotic beaches, and for a while, I thought she liked me too. But in hindsight, I think she liked what I represented more than who I was. I was the quiet type, the loyal one, the guy who picked her up at 2 a.m. without complaint, who remembered how she liked her tea and memorized her shoe size without ever being told. I was consistent, a man with calloused hands and simple dreams. Mia liked that, until she didn't. As my career started taking shape, I worked long hours, mostly behind the scenes. I wasn't the type to post promotions on social media or show off the aircraft I got assigned to. I liked building something quietly. Flying had always been about control, about freedom, about climbing higher without needing permission. I thought, Mia understood that, but the closer I got to my dreams, the further she drifted. She started attending different parties. Always industry events she said wouldn't interest me. Her circle shifted. Her jokes became sharper, like I needed to toughen up if I wanted to keep up. She started comparing me to Daniel, the son of her father's business partner. He was polished, corporate, the kind of man who wore tailored suits and spoke in headlines. I didn't mind at first. I thought it was just a phase, but I was wrong. The first real crack appeared on our 3rd anniversary. I had taken her to a quiet resort by the ocean, just the two of us, away from the city. I booked a private dinner, under the stars, music, candles, the works. She barely touched her food, kept looking at her phone. When I asked her what was wrong, she said, "I feel like I'm dating a mechanic, not a man." It stung, but I swallowed it. That's what I always did. swallow things. There were times I could feel her slipping away, when we'd sit in silence longer than we talked, when she rolled her eyes at the way I dressed or how I talked about helicopters, like they were living things, when I offered solutions and she just wanted drama. But I kept telling myself it would pass, that I loved her enough for both of us. I didn't see the signs because I didn't want to. Not when she started dressing up more but stopped inviting me out. Not when Daniel's name came up more often than mine. Not even when she posted a photo from his yacht but told me she was at a work meeting. Still, I stayed. Still, I believed. Kept planning, kept saving. I spent 6 months designing the perfect proposal. I learned her favorite flowers, found the exact song she once said made her believe in love, coordinated with friends, and even pulled strings to rent the rooftop of her favorite art museum for the night. Everything was set. I was going to propose after her birthday toast, ring ready, speech rehearsed, helicopter waiting at a distance with a custom banner reading, "Will you marry me, Mia?" But she ruined it before I could say a single word. She humiliated me in front of everyone, called me a joke, tossed aside the ring, and walked off with Daniel like I had never mattered. That night, something inside me broke, but it didn't. Break me the way she thought it would. I packed my things and left the city by morning. No texts, no explanations, just silence. And while the world kept spinning around her, I built my empire. I focused on what I had always been good at, flying, fixing, building, and moving forward without noise. I didn't need to announce what I was becoming, because when Mia finally turned around, I wasn't the same man she walked away from. And when she came running across that helipad, breathless and desperate, it wasn't love on her face, it was regret. It started with silence. Not the kind you notice in passing, the kind that creeps in slowly, stretching between conversations, filling spaces where laughter used to live. The kind of silence that turns warm dinners into cold takeout and quiet car rides into strained exhalations. I told myself she was just busy, that the tension in her jaw, the way she flinched when I touched her hand, the sudden guardedness in her eyes, it was stress. It had to be. I'd just returned from a week-long flight operations conference in Singapore when I noticed it for real. My bag still lay unpacked near the door, and Mia was already leaving for some last-minute cocktail event. She didn't ask how my trip went, didn't comment on the gift I brought her, a silk scarf, hand-dyed, exactly her style. She took it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes and said, "Thanks," before vanishing into the city lights in a cloud of expensive perfume. The next morning, she wasn't in bed. Her phone was unlocked, and I made the mistake of looking. I wasn't searching for evidence. I just wanted to know why I felt so alone when we lived under the same roof. I scrolled through her messages, mostly harmless, until I saw Daniel's name. At first, it was just emojis, jokes, a little flirtation. But then the words shifted. "You looked stunning last night. I wish I didn't have to let you leave so early. He doesn't understand what you need. I do. Imagine if it had been me taking you home instead." And then one voice note, 30 seconds long. I listened. Her voice, soft, intimate. She was laughing, breathless. "Ethan's still going on about that rooftop proposal. It's sweet, I guess, but do you know what I really want? Something bigger. Something unforgettable. He just doesn't get it. You do." I sat on the edge of the bed, unable to breathe. I had rehearsed my proposal speech just the night before, mouthing the words like prayer. I even asked the florist to wrap the bouquet in baby pink ribbon, her favorite color. And now she was handing my future over to someone else. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. A week later, I arrived at her office unannounced to deliver lunch. Her assistant looked startled, stammering something about a client meeting already in progress. She hesitated, then motioned toward the break room. "You can wait here." I did, for 40 minutes, until I saw them walk out together. Daniels. Hand rested on the small of her back, a quiet, confident touch that screamed familiarity. Mia's eyes widened when she saw me, but only for a moment. She composed herself quickly. "Ethan, I didn't expect you." "No," I said, setting the lunch bag down. "Clearly." Daniel just smirked. No apology, no effort to step away. He leaned in and said, "We were discussing a cross-brand opportunity." Mia chimed in, her tone clipped. "It's not what it looks like." I didn't reply. I just nodded and walked away. That night I made the decision. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't confront. I wouldn't even try to win her back. I'd let her have the stage. And when she thought she had won, when she felt most untouchable, I would remind her that even the most beautiful aircraft can fall from the sky if it forgets what keeps it in flight. I finalized the rooftop proposal anyway. Not for her, for the spectacle. I knew Mia. She craved drama. She needed the world to see her as the one pursued, the adored woman who had to make the hard choice. I gave her exactly what she wanted. The night of the proposal, the rooftop was flawless. String lights lined the perimeter. A soft breeze rustled the petals of imported white roses. Her friends were already filming, whispering with giddy anticipation. Daniel stood off to the side, arms folded, expression unreadable, and then I stepped forward, bouquet in one hand, the ring in the other. I looked directly at Mia. I held her gaze. I dropped to one knee. She smiled faintly, almost wistfully. I inhaled slowly and said the words clearly. "Mia, will you marry me?" The pause was intentional. I wanted her to make the choice. I wanted the silence to stretch just long enough. And then, like I expected, she tilted her head and said, "Ethan." "Don't do this," the crowd murmured. "I care about you," she continued. "I always will. But I'm with Daniel now. You're a good man. But this isn't us anymore." There it was. Public, clean, and final. She turned, her back. The cameras stayed on me. I stood up slowly, nodded once, and said into the microphone, "Thank you." Everyone stared. No one spoke, and then the sound of spinning blades filled the air. The helicopter descended behind me, casting wind. Across the rooftop. I climbed in without looking back. Mia turned just in time to see me rising, disappearing above the skyline, her hair whipping across her face as she shouted my name, but the noise drowned her out. The flight back was quiet. Too quiet. The kind that doesn't let you think straight because every breath feels like it's being pulled through a storm. I kept my eyes on the skyline, not because it was beautiful, but because I couldn't bring myself to look inward. I had expected it. Planned for it. Scripted every beat of what happened on that rooftop. But no amount of planning prepares you for the way it feels when the woman you once wanted to spend your life with tosses your love into the wind like it was nothing. And yet, I didn't hate her. That was the worst part. I wanted to. I wanted to feel rage, to fuel myself with it like jet fuel and never look back. But all I felt was this cold emptiness sitting right behind my ribs, like someone had scooped out the center of my chest and left me standing hollow. Why did I still ache when I was the one who walked away? I had given her my loyalty, my time, the deepest parts of my heart. And she had looked at me like I was a nice phase, a safe option she could outgrow when something shinier came along. I remembered all the little things I used to do, leaving notes on the bathroom mirror, warming her coffee cup before she woke up, learning how to tie her hair up when she was sick and couldn't lift her arms. Did she ever remember those things? Did they ever matter? I replayed the moment over and over, the look on her face when I dropped to one knee. There was no regret in her eyes, no softness, just calm, detached dismissal, like she had already planned her answer days ago, like I was the only one still hoping for something real. And yet, when I turned and walked to the helicopter, I didn't stumble. I didn't shake. I walked like I'd been through it 100 times before. But inside, I was drowning. I landed at the private airstrip just before midnight. The ground crew nodded silently as I passed. No one asked questions. They knew better. I wasn't in the mood for conversation. I wasn't in the mood for anything. I just wanted the silence to stop screaming. Back in my apartment, I sat alone on the edge of the bed. The box was still in my pocket, the ring I never gave her, the future I had to pry out of my own hands. I didn't cry, but I wanted to. Instead, I called Charlotte. She didn't ask why. She just answered with a quiet, "You okay?" I almost said no. I almost told her everything. But the words caught in my throat. I just needed to hear someone breathe, I said instead. There was a pause, then the soft sound of her exhale. "I'm here," she said. "You don't have to talk. Just stay on the line." I didn't realize how long I'd been holding my breath until then. I closed my eyes, leaned back, and let her silence carry me through the rest of the night. But the ache didn't leave. It followed me into the mornings. It curled up beside me when I tried to sleep. I would find myself lost in thought mid-flight, eyes locked on the horizon while my heart lagged somewhere miles behind. Every time I saw a rooftop, I remembered the wind on her face as she stood there watching me leave. I wondered if she regretted it. If she lay awake beside Daniel at night wishing she had chosen differently. But that line of thinking was dangerous. It wasn't just a dead end, it was a trap. And I couldn't afford to be pulled back in. Still, the pain didn't fade. It just settled deeper. Some nights, I would catch myself standing by the hangar, doors staring into the sky as if expecting something or someone to come back. But no one ever did. No calls, no texts, not from her. Until one afternoon 2 weeks after the proposal, I had just returned from a training session when the front desk radioed in. "Sir, there's a woman asking for you. Says her name is Mia." Froze. Every muscle in my body went still. "She said it's urgent," the receptionist added. I didn't reply. I just stood there, caught in a storm of confusion, anger, and something I didn't want to name. Part of me wanted to turn around and disappear into the air again. Take the next flight and never land. But another part, the stubborn, tired part, wanted answers, closure, a final scene to close the chapter for good. I walked to the lobby and there she was, Mia. No designer dress. No entourage, just her. Hair tied loosely, eyes rimmed in something that looked too much like regret. "Ethan," she breathed, stepping forward. "Please." I didn't know where else to go. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for a second I saw the girl I used to love, but that second passed. "I have nothing left to give you," I said quietly. "You already made your choice." She flinched. "I know, and I was wrong." I didn't answer, because some wounds don't need an apology. They need time, and I was done waiting. I didn't hear from Mia for the next few days, and I assumed she had finally realized there was no going back. I told myself that was a good thing. But then Charlotte called. Her voice was tight, more serious than usual. "Ethan, you need to see something." She sent me a video link. I hesitated before opening it. It was a news clip, an interview from a high society gala the night before. Daniel stood at the center of it, all smiles and swagger, arm draped casually around Mia's waist. She looked thinner, more tired, but she smiled for the cameras anyway. The headline, "Future Mrs. Ashton confirms engagement to business tycoon, Daniel Ashton." I stared at the screen. My stomach twisted. The reporter asked, "So this is official now?" Daniel grinned. "Very. We'll make an announcement soon, but we're planning a joint venture with the Liu family. Mia's been an amazing support throughout it all." Mia just nodded. No ring on her finger, but her hand didn't move from his chest. Charlotte messaged again, "Keep watching." The clip continued. Another reporter chimed in. "There were rumors recently that Ms. Liu had turned down a proposal from a former partner. Any comment?" Daniel laughed. "Oh, that?" Yeah, someone took a private stunt way too seriously. Can't blame him. Mia's unforgettable. But that chapter is closed. She's where she belongs now. The smile on Mia's face cracked for half a second. That was all I needed to see. I closed the video and tossed my phone onto the passenger seat. The sun was setting across the tarmac, washing everything in gold, but all I could feel was fire in my chest. I thought I was done with her. I thought walking away was enough. But now she was rewriting the story, turning me into a deluded, obsessed fool who couldn't take a hint. And Daniel, he was painting himself as the hero, as if stealing someone's future was just good business. I clenched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles whitened, but the twist wasn't the fake engagement. That came the next morning. Mia showed up at my hangar again, alone, no cameras, no makeup, her eyes red, her hands shaking. Before I could say anything, she pulled out her phone. "I didn't agree to that," she whispered. "That press release, the photos, the quotes, they were edited. Daniel had his PR team push the story. Before I even knew, I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I believed her. He threatened me," she continued, her voice cracking. "Said if I didn't play along, he'd leak things. Personal things, conversations, photos, recordings, things he manipulated me into sharing." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked coldly. "Because you're the only person who didn't use me," she said. "The only one who loved me without conditions. I know I don't deserve it, but Ethan, I need your help." I turned away. My heart warred with itself. Part of me wanted to leave her standing there, broken and exposed, like she had done to me. But another part, the part that remembered the girl I once waited in the rain for, the one who used to sleep on my shoulder mid-flight simulator practice, still cared. That part whispered, "Don't turn your back this time." "I'm not saving you," I said finally. "You're going to save yourself, but I'll give you the platform." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I walked over to the open bay and pointed to the small aircraft behind me. "We're flying to the Ashton family estate tonight, and you're going to tell the truth. In front of everyone." She stared at the plane, then back at me. And for the first time in a long time, Mia didn't look like the woman who broke my heart. She looked like someone trying to heal, and I was about to give her the wings to do it. The Ashton estate looked more like a palace than a home. Crystal chandeliers spilled light over polished marble floors, and imported orchids lined the grand staircase like a red carpet of elegance. Mia sat beside me in the helicopter, quiet and stiff. Her hands were clenched in her lap, her eyes forward, but I could feel the war behind them. Guilt, anger, fear, maybe even shame. As we descended onto the private landing pad behind the estate, my heart began to beat harder, not for her, not for me, but for what we were about to face. This wasn't just a party. This was war. The gala was already in motion by the time we walked in. Laughter, champagne, glittering gowns, false praise dripping from every handshake, and at the center of it all stood Daniel, beaming under the spotlight, already drunk on attention. He didn't see us at first, but when he did, his expression dropped for half a second. That was enough. He recovered quickly, smiled wide, and raised his glass. Well, look who decided to join the winning team." Mia didn't flinch. She stepped forward and said clearly, "This ends tonight." Some heads turned. Daniel's smile twitched. "I don't think I understand," he said slowly. "Yes, you do," I cut in. "That press release was a lie, and so is everything else you've spun to keep your fake kingdom from collapsing." The room began to quiet. Murmurs, phones lifted. A few PR staffers exchanged glances. Daniel set his glass down with a light clink. "Mia, you're upset. This isn't the place." "You made it the place the moment you decided to use me," she snapped. "You edited my voice, my photos, and used my name to make yourself look like some dream partner. You manipulated everything, behind the scenes, and thought I'd just play along." He laughed, shaking his head. "Mia, sweetheart, you were complicit." "I was scared," she said, louder now. "You threatened me with recordings, with photos. Told me you'd destroy Ethan's career, leak fake messages, frame him for harassment. You thought I'd just fold? I protected you, Daniel said with a calm too calculated. And I made you famous. You made me hate myself, she whispered. Silence fell. Then I stepped beside her. Daniel, I said, voice low but sharp, we both know you only did this to erase the fact that you stole someone else's life. You wanted to be the guy with the business, the girl, the fame, but none of it was yours. You just watched people build and waited to take it. His smile finally cracked. You've always been in my way, he said, his tone darker now. Always. So quiet, so clean. But look where it got you. I have everything and you have, what? This? He gestured to Mia like she was property. That was his mistake, because the moment he said that, she walked to the center of the ballroom and turned toward the press. Record this, she said. All of you. Phones were already up. Flashing. Lights. Eager eyes. Mia Lou, was manipulated into a false engagement announcement. Daniel Ashton used private information, edited media, and threatened to ruin the lives of people around me if I didn't comply. I have emails, messages, and recordings to prove it. And tonight, I'm done protecting him. Gasps, gasps always, came right before the fall. Daniel moved to grab her arm, but I stepped between them. You so much as breathe in her direction, and I'll show the board of directors the full flight log of what you did with Ashton Air's funds last quarter, I said. You think I didn't know you were trying to launder fuel costs through ghost inventory? His hand froze midair. You have nothing, he hissed. No, I smiled. I have everything backed up, and so does Mia. A voice from the far end of the hall called out, Is this true? Heads turned. An older man stepped forward. Daniel's father. The expression on his face was enough to make Daniel shrink a full inch. You told me this partnership was clean. That girl was loyal to the end, and now you're embarrassing us. With fake engagement stories? He turned to Mia. Miss Liu, do you have proof of these claims? She held up her phone. Several backups. Daniel turned pale. That was the moment it truly happened. The unraveling. Within minutes, murmurs grew louder. The PR team started making calls. The music died down. Waitstaff began clearing glasses like the party had suddenly ended. And then, Daniel. Ran, literally pushed through the crowd and out the doors like a criminal fleeing the scene. Mia just stood there, breathing hard, shoulders trembling. I walked over, took the phone gently from her hand and said, You did it. No, she whispered. We did. No, I corrected. You did. I was just the helicopter. She laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in weeks, maybe months. The sound was jagged, but real. I watched the crowd around us swirl, some staring, some whispering, others already moving on to the next headline, but we didn't move. We stood in the wreckage of a lie, and for once, we weren't the ones left broken. Later, out on the back patio, we sat in silence, the breeze brushing against us. She leaned on the balcony railing, hair loose, face bare. I thought I was lost forever, she said, that I'd never come back from it. I stared at the sky. Sometimes you don't come back. Sometimes you come back new. She looked at me. And you? Are you still the man who loved me? I met her gaze. I'm not the man who begged. You? Or the one who waited? Then who are you? I smiled faintly. I'm the man you chased across the sky. She didn't say anything at first. Then she nodded, stepped forward, and pressed her forehead gently to mine. I'm sorry, Ethan. I know, I said, and thank you. I know that too. We stayed there saying nothing more, just watching. The horizon, knowing the sun was coming up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't dread the light. The fallout came swiftly. Within 48 hours, Daniel Ashton's name was stripped from every board he sat on. His accounts were frozen pending investigation, his press appearances canceled, and his so-called engagement with Mia publicly retracted by his own family. The Liu family issued a statement in support of Mia's confession, citing gross misconduct and deliberate manipulation by third parties. They distanced themselves so hard, Daniel might as well have never existed in their world, but that wasn't the satisfying part. The satisfying part came when Daniel tried to contact me. It was a voice message, shaky, bitter, desperate. You don't understand what you've done. You think this is revenge? This is war, Ethan. You've humiliated me, ruined my future. They won't even look me in the eyes anymore. All because of one girl. One girl? That told me everything I needed to know. He still didn't get it. This was never about Mia. This was about the way he moved through the world like it owed him something. The way he took and lied and laughed and expected applause afterward. He thought betrayal was a game. That kindness was weakness. That love was leverage, so I did something he never would have expected. I sent his message to every major executive still connected to his family's brand with a simple caption. Your future business partner thinks integrity is optional. And, just like that, the last door slammed shut in his face. I wasn't done. Before he could delete his digital past, I pushed the full audit report of his fraudulent fuel schemes into the inbox of a major investigative journalist. The article went live 2 days later with the headline, "The Golden Boy Who Faked His Crown, How Daniel Ashton Burned His Empire to the Ground." Public opinion turned fast. Memes exploded. His name trended, but for all the wrong reasons. Sponsors vanished. Allies evaporated. Investors bailed. Even his father refused to publicly defend him. I never responded to his message. Some things deserve silence more than vengeance. And as for Mia, she didn't run this time. She didn't beg, didn't twist words, didn't pretend. She stood by me, not as someone who needed saving, but as someone who had finally saved herself. We didn't fall into bed. We didn't announce anything. We just rebuilt, quietly. Real. At first, she moved into a smaller apartment closer to the old helipad. Nothing glamorous, no chandelier, just sunlight, books, and a window seat she loved to curl up on. I'd visit after late-night runs, sometimes bringing, street food, sometimes just sitting beside her in silence. One night, as I was about to leave, she called out, "You don't have to go." I paused, turned around. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her sleeves. "I mean, not if you don't want to," she added quickly. I walked back, knelt in front of her, and took her hand. "I never did," I said. Weeks passed. My company grew. I began mentoring young pilots, started a scholarship in my mother's name for underprivileged aviation students. Mia, on the other hand, launched a consultancy firm for women facing workplace exploitation. Her story, once buried under lies and media spin, became a platform for something greater. But the final piece of closure didn't come until 6 months later. That was when Willow showed up. I was walking out of a private aircraft hangar when I saw her, still dressed to impress, but the mask was cracked, heels slightly scuffed, designer purse clutched too tightly. She smiled like old times, as if the years had melted away. "Ethan," she said softly, "you look amazing." I nodded once. "Willow." She looked around awkwardly, then took a step closer. "I saw the articles. About Daniel. And you. Everything. I was wrong. About a lot of things," I said. Her eyes searched mine. "Can we talk?" "No," I said. "We just did." She flinched, caught off guard by how fast the door closed. She stepped back, tried again. "Don't you miss anything we had?" I smiled faintly. Only the part where I realized what I deserve. And I walked away, never looking back. Because closure doesn't come from apology. It comes from realizing you've outgrown the weight that once drowned you. That night, I returned to the rooftop, the same one where she had rejected me. But this time, the lights were off, the pedals gone, the stage dismantled. Mia stood near the edge, arms folded, watching the city breathe. "You came," she said, her voice a whisper. I needed to, I replied. She glanced over. To remember. To rewrite it, I said. I stepped closer, pulled something from my coat, a velvet box. She stared at it, but I didn't open it right away. Last time, I stood here thinking love meant sacrifice, I said. That if I gave enough, bent enough, waited long enough, it would be enough. She nodded slowly. And now? She asked. I opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring. It was a compass. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Why a compass? Because this time, I said, I'm not giving you a destination. I'm giving you direction. Wherever we go next, we go together. Not because we're bound, but because we choose to. Tears shimmered in her eyes. She closed the box carefully, then reached into her coat and pulled out a ring. Simple. Silver. Elegant. I was hoping you'd say that, she whispered. My eyes widened. Is this what I think it is? She smiled. Finally, truly. Ethan Moore, she said, voice strong. Will you get in the passenger seat for once and let me fly us home? I laughed, loud and free, and I said the only word that ever mattered anymore. Yes. As we stood there, on the same rooftop where everything once fell apart, the wind whipped around us like a final applause. Below, the city continued to move. But above, in that one moment, we had already taken off, and this time, we weren't coming back down.